A big investigation underway by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration over a possible data leak. A big bank pays out millions for its data breach, and a new Texas law says you can sue social media for censorship. A lot to get to in the tech world. Cybersecurity and privacy law attorney Leeza Garber joining us now to break it all down. Great to see you, Leeza. Happy Friday.
Great to see you, Jan. Same to you.
Let's start with the Texas law because this case is groundbreaking. What does the Texas law say and how does it work? What's been the response also from tech companies?
There have been a couple states, including Florida, that have tried to pass a law stating that their citizens of their state, their residents, can sue social media platforms and other websites for quote unquote censorship. The Texas law is potentially groundbreaking because it got passed so far. We see quite a few legal conflicts here. There are some constitutionality issues, but basically this law states Texas residents can sue platforms like Twitter or Facebook for blocking posts and for banning users for certain viewpoints. And they're really looking at political viewpoints here. The question is, this conflicts with a couple different laws, including Section 230, which is around 30 years old and allows social media platforms to moderate content. We're talking about harassment, hate speech, fake news, all of these things. And so we're probably going to see this play out in the courts in the years to come. I don't see much movement from big tech so far. Obviously, as an American, you can sue for anything. Right. Whether the lawsuit is successful is another question.
All right, Leeza. And now to this big DEA investigation over a potential data breach. Nicholas Weaver, a researcher for international computer science at the University of California, Berkeley, said, quote, "I don't think these people realize what they got, how much money the cartels would pay for access to this." So, Leeza, first, what led to this investigation and what is at stake if this information is released?
A famous cybersecurity researcher found credentials, a username and password, were floating around for access to the Drug Enforcement Administration systems. And actually, access to this one system led to access to 16 other federal databases. Oh. The type of data that's at stake here, if it's proven that this hack happened and the DEA is investigating now, could be information on ongoing criminal investigations. It could be property seized during criminal conflict. And it could also be the ability through this password to log fake accounts of different criminal activity. So it's massive amounts of information that's at stake. And the problem is it could be a gold mine for criminals in the cartel, in the mafia that are trying to see what's going on, what types of investigations are happening.
And I know we've spoken about the administration's efforts to combat data breaches. But Leeza, you're a cybersecurity expert yourself. How confident are you in the systems currently in place to protect our cybersecurity infrastructure? It seems like hackers can pretty much do. Eventually, they're gonna be successful in one of their attempts.
There are talented hackers out there, that's for sure, around the world that are attempting every minute of every day to break into the U.S. government. This recent hack of the DEA, alleged hack, I should say, doesn't boast a lot of confidence in U.S. systems because it looks like simple credentials, a username and password, you could gain access. There was no dual factor authentication turned on like most of us have just for our personal email. But I will say the government has poured billions of dollars into cybersecurity. We're seeing massive partnerships, not only amongst federal agencies, but also between the public and private sector. What we really need is more leadership, especially at the executive level related to cybersecurity. We need clearer directives. We need cybersecurity to maintain its status as a very buzzy buzzword because these problems are not going away. They're only becoming more and more significant. So we have the talent, we have the money in the United States. We just need to push it a bit further.
And speaking of data breaches, Capital One settled $190 million with victims of their 2019 data breach. That hit nearly 100 million customers. How do settlements work in situations like this, and how can bankers protect their financial data?
This Capital One data breach and the settlement that follows are really groundbreaking. Took place from, as you said, a 2019 data breach that impacted 100 million Capital One customers. Many of us watching today were impacted, and you may have received a notice saying you're part of this settlement. Now, Capital One has had to pony up $190 million, and this is for victims of the data breach. It may be to pay for identity theft. It may be to pay for the time and energy you spent investigating how you were impacted, for attorney's fees. So you have to go to CapitalOneSettlement.com. As I said, you may have already gotten a notice in the mail saying you are part of the data breach. But these types of settlements are going to become more common because the financial sector is heavily targeted. Financial information is extremely valuable on the dark net in the black market, and financial sector itself is heavily regulated, especially when it comes to proactive cybersecurity. But some of these systems, again, are legacy systems. They might be outdated. They're unable to be patched. So we need more proactive measures in this sector as well.
Leeza Garber, always great to see you. Thanks for joining us here on this Friday. Hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you, Jan. You too.